Hi, welcome to What's Up with DJ Now. Today we're making Instant Pot Mississippi pot roast. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. If you'd please like and subscribe to my channel, I would appreciate it. Here's our supplies. They'll be linked in the description. And let's get started. We're going to go ahead and set the Instant Pot to saute mode. And we're going to hit it twice to go to the normal setting, and then we're going to go ahead and set that for 8 minutes. And it's going to click to on, and you're going to wait to see the hot symbol come up, and then once it says hot, then you're going to add 1/4 a cup of your oil, which could be, I'm using vegetable oil, you could use that, or avocado oil, a high heat oil that can take the heat. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sear our meat. I'm using a beef chuck roast, which I've cut in half to fit easier into the pot. Now it's completely natural for this to want to stick the minute you put it in there. So you're going to want to start kind of, moving it around to try and hinder that from sticking. But it is normal, even though you have the oil in there. So don't worry about that. You just need to move it around quite a bit. And we're going to do this for about 2 to 3 minutes on each side because we want to get a nice sear on there for your meat. And that sears in the juices so when it cooks the rest of the time in the pot. And you can see I was having a lot of trouble with it sticking. Like I said, that's completely normal. Now we're going to go ahead and put in our onion. Now I really should have used 2 onions. Now I realized that after I did it. I just used 1, but 1 is fine, but I would have preferred to use 2. And you're going to want to stir this, and you're going to want to deglaze, be working to scrape up and deglaze the bottom of that meat residue. Because otherwise later when you're cooking you're going to get a burn error, and you don't want to get the burn error. Now the onions will naturally release water, and so you just want to go ahead and let them help you to deglaze the pan. So just keep always scraping the bottom to try and loosen up that brownness at the bottom of the pot. We're going to be putting in broth soon, and that will help as well. Also, the onions give off, like I said, water, so that helps. The more onions, then the more that helps. And you're going to do the onions for about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so now we're going to put in our minced garlic, and we're going to add 1 tablespoon. I'm using a teaspoon thing, so 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. And we're going to stir that in. Just like I said, remember to always be scraping the bottom of the pan. Now we're going to add in 3 cups of beef broth. I use the Better Than Bouillon, but you can use any beef broth that you prefer or that you like. And you're still on the saute mode, and like I said, just keep scraping that bottom, and you're going to know when there's nothing stuck because you'll be able to feel it with the spoon if there's anything stuck. And while you're on saute, that will help to loosen it up as well. Now we're going to add 1 packet of the Au Jus Gravey mix. Get that stirred in. Okay, now we're going to add our ranch. Now I have the freestanding container, so I'm adding 2 tablespoons. If you don't have that, then you would put 2 packets of the ranch seasoning mix. And again, I'm using a teaspoon measuring spoon, so I'm doing 6 teaspoons because 6 teaspoons equals 2 tablespoons. Mississippi pot roast is a very flavorful roast, and I think that has to do a lot with the ranch and the other specific seasonings that you put in there. But it's really good. You have to try it at least once. There's so many different pot roast recipes out there. I have more than 1 pot roast recipe on my YouTube channel. You could check them all out if you'd like. But as you know, there's so many different roast recipes, so definitely try this one. Okay, now we're going to take our peppercinis and we're going to use 1/2 cup of the juice, which basically is all the juice from a 16-ounce jar. Now, peppercinis are not spicy. Some people might think they're a tiny bit spicy if you're very sensitive to spice, but really, truthfully, you don't really get any spiciness out of them. They just help for the flavor profile of the whole recipe. And then you're going to add as many or as little peppercinis as you'd like to add. I added about 8, and I removed the stems from them. And they will cook right into this as you're cooking it, and you will barely even notice them after it's done cooking. But again, the flavor is awesome. Give that a stir in. I'm still checking the bottom to make sure nothing's stuck. Now we're going to put our meat back in. That's been seared. Like I said, I cut mine in half so it would fit in there side by side a little easier. We're going to take 4 tablespoons of butter and we're going to set that right on top of the meat. We're not going to stir it in, we're just going to leave it right on top. I think that's what makes the flavor so awesome on this Mississippi pot roast, is the combination of the butter, the ranch, and the peppercini juice and the peppercinis. That's what makes it different. And like I said, the flavor is undeniable. It is so good. Don't let the peppercinis scare you because they're really not spicy at all. My lid looked all white, had like floury stuff on it because of the cornstarch I was touching. Now I'm showing you need to make sure and close your vent, your seal vent. Mine does automatically on the Duo Gourmet, so I don't need to do that. And we're going to set this to pressure cook on the more and high setting. And we're going to set this for 1 hour and 5 minutes or 65 minutes depending on how your panel displays your time. Mine on the Duo Gourmet displays it as 1 hour and 5 minutes, but each one is slightly different. So make sure and do 1 hour and 5 minutes or 65 minutes on the more and high setting. And this is going to click to on, and it'll come to pressure, and cook this for 1 hour and 5 minutes, and we'll be back. Natural release for 20 minutes after that. Okay, now here's the meat. We're going to remove it to a plate. I had to go ahead and get a piece and taste it to sample it. It's completely tender. You can just pull it right apart. Very flavorful. Now I decided I wanted to make potatoes with mine, and I wanted to make a lot of potatoes, so I did about 6 potatoes and cut them up. Well, we peeled them and cut them up into big chunks. Now we're going to put these in there, and we're going to cook those for only 6 minutes, because it doesn't take long for potatoes. That's why you want to do them after your roast, because otherwise they would just disintegrate if you did them for 1 hour and 5 minutes. So put the lid on, make sure it's sealed. And then, like I said, we're going to pressure cook on the high and more setting for only 6 minutes. That's all it'll take for them to be tender, and they won't be falling apart, but they'll be nice and tender. Okay, and in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and shred up or break apart your roast. I'm separating out mine, the fat, off of the meat. I don't like having the fat on there, so I always separate that out. This was all that was left of a roast. It was a small roast, which is plenty big enough for me. You could do bigger ones if you'd like. Now I'm separating out the fat pile, of course, you know for who, my Sammy boy, my taste critic and food assistant there. There he is. He's waiting patiently like a good boy, and he wants to get his taste so he can approve this recipe. There you go. Yummy yum. He approves it. Licking his chops there. Now I do have a Facebook group if you're still on Facebook, and I'll link the description in the link into the description if you'd like to join it. It's about food and recipes and cooking. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and make our cornstarch slurry to thicken up the gravy, which will be 3 tablespoons of water to 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. You're going to mix it up till it looks like a milk-like consistency and smooth. Now I've taken off the lid. The potatoes are done. We're going to set this back to saute so that we can put our slurry in and thicken it up. So set it to saute for normal, and we'll set it for 10 minutes. We may or may not use the whole 10 minutes, but you can go ahead and set it for 10. Okay, now it's going to start heating up, and it'll start bubbling up. And here's our cornstarch slurry. We're going to go ahead and put that in. Looks like milk. And we're going to let that bubble, and we're going to stir it, and it will thicken up your broth, because when you get done cooking, it's going to be just broth. If you like only broth, then just skip this cornstarch slurry step. But if you like it to be a little thicker, then you're going to want to do the cornstarch slurry step. It's completely up to you. And we have it bubbling up there, nice and good. And I'm going to add a little fresh ground black peppercorn pepper. I like pepper, so I tend to pepper a lot. We're going to add a little bit of pink Himalayan sea salt. You don't need a lot because remember you have all that other ranch seasoning in there which has salt and everything else in it. So you don't need a lot of salt. Just do it according to your taste preference. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put our meat back in that's been shredded up. Get that nice and stirred in. You can see the gravy is a lot thicker than it was. And yes, I have a lot of potatoes in there because I love those potatoes when they cook like that in the broth and the gravy and the roast juice. It's really good. Sometimes I put carrots, but I was out of carrots, so not this time. Smells so good. Now I use bread to sop up the juice or biscuits. Do you all use bread or biscuits when you have this juice and gravy? Put it in the comments and let me know what your family likes to eat. Bread, you know, biscuits. What do you have with your roast for that awesome gravy? Now I'm just showing you how it looks, and we're going to get ready to serve this up on a plate. Look, it's just perfect. Now see, there's a little pepper hanging there. It's almost disintegrated, so the peppers are really disintegrated into there. Maybe one more scoop. Like I said, this is a small roast. If your family's bigger, you could do 2 roasts in here. They will fit perfectly fine. So you shouldn't have any problem with that if you want to cook more. It's just me, so I just do the 1. But I hope you like this video, and I really hope that you'll try it. It's very good. And here's the platter, and I can't wait to eat it. So I want to thank you for watching my video. If you could like and subscribe, I would be greatly appreciated for that. I would greatly appreciate that, I should say. And I hope you all have a nice weekend, have a nice day, and please try this because I think you'll really love it. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.